We talking about sports, get ball.
What it do, baby? Yeah.
We're back with another edition of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. And today I'm joined by my cousin, my brother, Roshan Bhatt. Welcome back.
What it do, man? Glad to be back.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you, man. Figured it was time. It's been a few episodes since we had you on here.
Yeah, I know. We put it together pretty quickly, too.
It wouldn't be the Bhatt family if not.
100%.
But before we get started, a quick message from our sponsor. This episode of the Prem Brulee podcast is brought to you by Urban Exterior Co. For all your roofing, siding, and gutter needs, please visit urbanexteriorco.com. That's URBANEXTERIORCO.com. You already know the vibes. Let's get shit going, baby.
Do it.
First up, yeah, fam or nah, NCAA March Madness. So, it came and went. It's now April, right? So, the men's side, of course, Baylor defeated Gonzaga. It was a battle of the top two seeds. On the women's side, Stanford narrowly beat Cinderella 3 seed at Arizona. Yeah, fam or not of the tournament. You could talk about either, neither, or both. Whatever you got. Go for it, bud.
Admittedly, I didn't watch a lot of the women's side. I did watch most of that championship just because I saw on Twitter that, the game was pretty close, and that game was pretty fucking awesome, yeah. I gotta say. Overall, I'm gonna go say it's a nah fan to all of March Madness. I know that's not very popular, but over the years, I've gotten increasingly less and less invested in these tournaments because even this year, a year where we saw 300 upsets. The Elite 8 and onwards is almost always chalk. And I just get so bored of seeing the top seeds win all the time. And it's just I know the brackets are set up that way, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit? I'm glad to say that the Cougars, my alma mater, got pretty far this year. Go Cougs. Being in the Final Four was
Go Cougs,
that shit
baby.
Was awesome. I watched almost all of their games. Can't say the rest were that interesting. We're not going to act like I saw any of the Buckeyes games.
Don't ever play yourself.
But other than that...
Oh, you mean the one game?
Don't ever play yourself.
The one
honestly,
fucking game?
Don't
ever
game,
play
let's be
yourself.
real.
Congratulations. You played
But
yourself.
I will
You're
say
right.
I'm glad that the Cougars lost to the champions, but I'm not glad that the champs are in a city that's called Waco. And that's somehow in Texas also. And also they kind of suck for robbing a perfect season. But I guess that's more of a you played yourself for the Zags than anything else.
There's a reason why it hasn't happened since 76.
Yeah, man.
I'm overall, I got to say, I'm a nod of this. I'm a yeah fam in the sense that, yes, it was cool to have the tournament again. But, the women's tournament and championship especially, like you said, was amazing. And so was that Gonzaga-UCLA Final Four game. That one was probably one of the best college basketball games maybe ever. The Jalen Suggs game winner. I won't lie, I was not as heavily invested after Ohio State shit the bed in the opening round. So I'm a nod of this. All that, you said it perfectly. All those upsets, the one seed's going down. Ohio State has a 2 seed lost. And all that just for the top 2 teams to make the championship. So all that for kind of nothing too crazy. You did see UCLA as an 11 seed make the Final Four, which was very impressive coming as a play-in team. But other than that, everything was pretty chalk. So ended up being chalk.
And even the other game for the Final Four, UCLA and Gonzaga, I didn't even watch it because I was so salty that the Cougars got their ass whooped. So I just turned it off and was doing something
that was
else.
The early game.
Yeah, I was like, man, so I missed that game.
Congratulations.
You played yourself.
You played yourself.
Or maybe you didn't.
Saltiness presides overall.
That's true. Especially you played yourself goes to the Big Ten. After getting 9 teams into the tournament, the only team that ended up being left the furthest was freaking Michigan of all teams, the basketball school, that team up north.
Petty alert, petty alert.
Everyone
petty
disappointed.
Alert.
You had Illinois lose early as a 1 seed, Iowa, Ohio State, all across the board just totally sucked it up. All right, let's move on to Major League Baseball here, and specifically, they moved their All-Star game away from Atlanta following the passage of the restrictive voting laws that went through in the state of Georgia. So the game ended up being moved to Denver, Colorado. And I'll go ahead and go first here. I'm a fam to this. It's no secret where I lie on the spectrum of things, but for lack of better terms, there are consequences to your racist actions. Yes, I get all the points people are making about businesses being impacted, but the lawmakers should have thought about that before restricting access to voting to underserved people who are predominantly minorities. They knew what the fuck they were doing, and it was simply a reaction to losing their state to Democrats in the presidential election. And those same people that would be complaining are usually the type that say, let the market decide. Well, the market did decide, and you got your game removed.
Absolutely.
And I know there was some pushback for those that don't align with me. I wanted to preemptively basically tell you to go play yourself, because just a simple fucking Google of the difference between Georgia's voting laws and Colorado's voting laws, because there were a lot of people on the opposite end of the spectrum complaining that, oh, you moved the All-Star game from one restrictive state to another, some point you made. Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you said that comment. So I did a quick article I found via NPR posted it from a link from the Colorado Public Radio. So those of you who are throwing out Colorado having just as restrictive voting laws, here's your fucking research for you. You're welcome in advance. So Colorado has fewer in-person voting days. Well, that's because Colorado votes by mail. Every registered voter receives a ballot about 15 to 20 days before the election. And instead of waiting in line in a polling station, the vast majority simply drop their ballot in a mailbox or secure drop box. And according to information from Colorado's Secretary of State, 99.3% of Colorado primary voters used one of these methods last year. Yeah, I know you guys are going to find your silly little stats without doing research, but there's some research for you. You don't even have to look it up anymore. I did it for you. Oh, and those voting drop boxes. A little comparison let's do. So Colorado has a voting drop box. Roughly, they have one per every 9,400 voters. This new Georgia law is going to make that number one per every 100,000 voters. This new law could see Metro Atlanta drop boxes for votes, mail-in votes, drop from 94 to 23. Nearly a quarter of the drop boxes will be available through this new law that claimed to be not restrictive. Oh, and then we wanted to talk about forms of ID and signatures and all that. Well, Colorado accepts 16 forms of identification in order to vote. Georgia will be accepting just 6. Again, that is from NPR posted this link from Colorado's public radio. Feel free to do your own research, but I can assure you that you played yourself, and I'm a fam to this All-Star game being moved because there are consequences to your racist actions, Georgia. And I'm sorry for those of you that aren't, but a lot of the people that aren't fully fucking understand these consequences needed to happen. And kudos to the MLB for finally making some sort of stand, because they usually don't. What you got, Rosh?
Well said. Also, I was gonna ask, all that Googling that you did, how much did it cost by chance?
Oh, it was free 99.
Yeah, I mean, people constantly forget that Google's free and just refuse to do any sort of research before they mouth off on Twitter or just go, spam someone's fucking comments with some imbecile shit like that. But anyway, I got to agree with you. Extremely fam to this. It is kind of bittersweet because, Georgia is a huge reason why the Democrats, won big in the November elections. But then, they had to go and shoot themselves in the foot here. And like you said, props to the really typically conservative MLB for actually implementing some change here and lighting a fire under some people's asses because, the plug pulling has people like Greg Abbott in their feelings, our excellent governor of Texas. And, as someone in Texas who is part of a very blue city and, all the big metroplexes are pretty blue. And so we kind of see these kind of ramifications all the time. Because I'm from Texas, people are always like, oh, Texas this, Texas that. That's what you get for living in a red state, yada, yada, yada. I mean, if you look at the polling maps, it's really frustrating to see, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston go blue, and then all these fucking vast lands of like ranch just go completely red and turn these elections. Right. And I mean, that shit sucks. And Greg Abbott, wanted to make that whole ordeal about the MLB moving their game about himself, like he always fucking does. And he made this huge press conference or press release or whatever you want to call it, and he was slated to throw out the first pitch at the Texas Rangers game, which thank God it wasn't at the Astros game, by the way, just for the record. And poor Globe Life Field, they were unable to see that fucking bozo throw out a first pitch, and that was considered a punishment, but we're kind of all better off for not having seen it. And
amen.
Fuck that guy. Just seriously, fuck that guy. We'll just leave it at that.
From the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Yep. We'll leave it at that. We're covering all the sports today. So next up on Yeah Fam or Not, the NBA. So Yeah Fam or Not, Roche, the short NBA offseason has impacted the quality of this season and is a major reason for the increased injuries. So this all came to a head recently because Jamal Murray tore his ACL late in a game against the Warriors, and that's significantly going to obviously impact the Nuggets' chances since he is one of their best players and a big reason why they made the Western Conference Finals last year. Also, some big names that have missed some significant time this year: Joel Embiid, King Snake, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Giannis, James Harden. I mean, that's just the big names.
These are marquee names, yeah.
Marquee. These are the ones that sell all the TV ratings, all the numbers. When fans are in attendance, that's who they go to see.
Yeah, I mean,
so you're fam to this, Roche?
I've always been a nah fam to the short and off season. I'm definitely always pro player, and if they were very vocal about it, especially LeBron. Having I think his time off or him, the Lakers and the Heat had I think it was like 72 days or something. Like that's fucking crazy, bro. Yeah. Like to have an entire season in a bubble
for a prime athlete.
Yeah, for a prime athlete, and you're in a bubble. Mind you, you can't leave. All you're doing is practicing and hooping and playing games on a very tight schedule, right. And it's just like very stressful circumstances. I mean, yeah, you can say whatever you want about them getting paid millions of dollars, but that's not in their contract to be in a bubble and not be able to do the things that they want to do, et cetera, et cetera. And, I mean, this year I probably watched the fewest amount of regular season basketball games. And I just feel like almost every televised or like national game has been some kind of blowout or missing some kind of huge star from one of these marquee teams, and it's just like, I mean, the Lakers and Nets played on Saturday night. Guarantee you at any other circumstance, I'm watching that game like from start to finish. Beers, everything. I completely ignore that game. LeBron was out, AD was out, Harden was out. Like, who the fuck wants to watch that shit? Nobody wants to watch that shit. Yeah. And I know Adam Silver has money to make, and he's made a lot of great decisions over the years. This is by far his dumbest decision, because I know from a capitalist point of view, they're like, oh, we got to make money. We're allowing some fans in the stadium, blah, blah, blah. But now you don't have the stars, so you're still, getting fucked by not having any selling points to these games. So huge nah, fam.
I agree with you. I'm a fan, but it hasn't impacted the quality of the season and led to more injuries. I absolutely think that, because you're seeing these injuries with teams that lasted longer in the bubble. The teams that have had plenty of rest don't have that significant of injuries because they've had literally almost a calendar year in between playing. I know there was no perfect solution for this, but it would have been nice if they thought about the teams that did make the bubble. I know some of those shitty teams it was something like 287 days or something crazy in between playing. So I get they had to make a sacrifice, but it's weird to sacrifice for the teams that pay your bills, essentially.
Pretty much. And, back to Jamal Murray, that really sucks because not to like jump the gun here, but I'm pretty sure that eliminates the Nuggets from contention, because I just don't see Jokic. Oh, yeah. I don't see Jokic handling any sort of team in the playoffs by himself. That guy is just too slow.
Right. I mean, you have to think that's why I purposely left that topic off of here. I was thinking about, does it impact their chances? Like, the West was already going to be tough with the Lakers.
Sure.
The Suns are great this year. You have teams like even the Blazers, the Jazz are great this year. It's like, how are you going to beat them without guard play?
No way.
Who's going to, Jokic is great and all, but even in a triple-double game, you still need someone dynamic to move the ball.
And this is an elite,
and
this is an
score when you
elite
need
guard. He's an elite guard, and he was probably like the star of the bubble last year. Like probably everyone's like Cinderella favorite star that came out of the bubble.
He's improved every single year he's been in the league too, which
for sure.
Hopefully he comes back better than ever. Hated to see that. He was in like some crazy pain. You could see it right away. So hopefully he recovers quick.
For sure.
I don't want to see anybody go out like that.
For sure.
Last but not least, on FM or Not, let's just, complete covering a whole bunch of different sports here. The NFL is expected to pass a rule that will relax jersey number restrictions. This is per Peter King. It would make it so that like QBs always were from 1 to 19, but wide receivers would get to pick numbers from 1 to 49 and 80 to 89. Running backs, same thing. Tight ends, same thing. Defensive backs would open up to 1 to 49. Linebackers would get 1 to 59 and then 90 to 99. And then offensive line, defensive line would get 50 to 79. And then defensive line would get the 90s digits. So everyone that knows me knows I'm a big jersey guy. I am a fam to this. I love this. But my one caveat. Let the big men eat, baby. Let them have the low numbers. As a fellow Husky dude, I never got to wear the single digit numbers. So I feel for the big guys. Let a big old defensive tackle, a nose tackle, wear number 1. Let that jersey ride up his belly, show a little belly. That's what I want to see, Also, I can't wait to see some wide receiver pick like something like number 48 just to embarrass defenders more if they beat him. Like, dude, like watching film and getting yourself beat by a dude wearing jersey number 48 would be pretty fucking embarrassing.
For sure.
So that'd be pretty hilarious to see. So I'm a fan of this. What about you?
I want to say nah, fam, and go with the classic Vish Zag, but it's more of a whatever fam for me. On one hand, like who gives a shit? Let them wear whatever numbers they want to wear. What difference does it make?
Just like they do in college.
Yeah, exactly. Like nobody cares. But that's like a nameless sport. They don't want you to make money off your likeness, blah blah blah. But it's just like, on the other hand, how am I going to know when a wide receiver who's wearing a 48 jersey, like you said, burns a cornerback wearing the jersey number 3? I just feel like it's a lot more to keep up with. And for me personally, it's all about having the least amount of effort possible on Sunday afternoons. So it's whatever, man. Like it's like. Is it a big deal? It's probably not, but who cares? Let's let them do whatever they want. Who cares?
I'll be interested to see what impact it has on jersey sales, too.
I know.
Because I know one thing that was pretty cool is Stephon Diggs was talking about picking a single-digit number, but then he tweeted, like, no, I'm staying with 14 because, so many fans invested in my jersey and stuff, and they rock with me in number 14, which is really cool. But I'd be interested to see, because, like Zeke was talking about wearing 15 like he wore at Ohio State, and 15 is my favorite number, so it's like
that would be cold.
You might just get me buying another jersey, even though I have a Zeke jersey already, number 21. So
I feel like most of the people that would switch jerseys probably don't have high jersey sales, because I think the ones with high jersey sales would be a little more mindful, like Stephon Diggs, and probably be like, well, like DeAndre Hopkins, he's made so much money off the jersey sale of number 10, and that's kind of like his number. Yeah. I don't see him changing, for example.
But like me, I'm a number like snob connoisseur, whatever. Like 10's already kind of a cool number for him.
Yeah.
Like some of the receivers are already in the teens anyway, and that's the trend where it's been going. Yeah. So it's like you're not like getting that much of a cooler number, but who knows? All right. You already know what time it is. Let's hit that intro, baby.
I'm petty as hell. And I'm super petty. Here we Petty Le Pew.
That's right, you number 1 podcast listeners. It's time for You Played Yourself. You know how we do things. Let's keep it real spicy. We haven't co-hosted in a while together, Roche, so
we haven't.
Feeling about this one. All right, first up, you played yourself to the men's basketball national championship. First of all, a fucking 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tip for a Monday national championship. I know I sound super old, but why do we have to cater to a crowd that doesn't tune in on the West Coast? Like, what fucking purpose is... Yes, I get we probably have number one podcast listeners on the West Coast. Like, you guys are going to find a way to watch it if it's on at 3:30 your time. It's going to be okay. Like, we don't need a basketball game to start at 9:20 for people that... The casual watcher, like you, Rosh, you're not going to tune in like, I got better shit to do in prime time on a night. Or you just go to sleep on the East Coast. Some people do.
Right.
So I think this is more of like a you played yourself in general, like catering to the West Coast in game time, start times. But it's also you played yourself because we had the two best teams and one didn't even show up and they're going for an undefeated season. So it was kind of shitty to see like the two best teams in it and it be such a dud of a game. I don't think it ever got past like a 9-point differential. I don't think Gonzaga ever broke that. So you played yourself goes to that.
Yeah, it feels like every time Gonzaga caught up and got within 10 or 11, like Baylor went on another like 6-0, 8-0 run to kind of like make sure that this game wasn't getting anywhere close. And, you know, that defense was nails, man. They were
straight up
nails.
Debo, man. It was like, it looked like only one team had been in the gym. Like only one team had been in the weight room.
It felt like that game felt exactly like the UH Baylor game. Like, I was like, I knew going into that matchup that UH was super outclassed and that their likelihood of winning that game was very low. But, like, man, it was hard to watch them just get clamped big time. And, you know, to see Gonzaga, who was undefeated, get that same, you know, treatment, get that same work, that was pretty. That was hard to watch. That was trash.
Did that make it feel better as a Cougs fan though? Like to see an undefeated team get the same kind of work?
I mean, I've heard what you said on these kind of topics, and I'm with you, man. Like, who gives a fuck? I don't want to lose. I don't care if we lost to the champs. Fuck that shit. Fuck Baylor.
Cougs
man.
did look damn good though. They just like cruised through that bracket. That region. All right. Next up, our favorite subject. Favorite source of you played yourself, King Snake Kevin Durant. So this dude in an interview with Rachel Nichols of ESPN said the following, quote,
I wasn't expecting to be a happy human being from a title. I was just expecting, like, you know, the ending of a movie. Once you work so hard and everybody tells you, like, yo, this is what you need to be working for, is this gold ball and these rings. And I'm just like, all right, cool. Let me lock in on that. And I locked in on wanting to achieve that, but I also realized it's a lot of stuff that factors in it that's out of my control. And once I won a championship, I realized that, like, yo, my view on this game is really about development. Like, how good can I be? It's not about, you know, let's go get this championship or let's go get this gold ring. It's like, yo, how great can you be every time you step out on the floor? Because dudes who don't do nothing on the court become champions. And dudes who don't contribute at all in any type of form or fashion can run around and hide behind the championship. But, like, I want to be a great basketball player. And, you know, once I won a championship, I'm like, oh, that's what my goal is, just to be great every day, not to be chasing some stuff that the humans created, you know what I'm saying, in a ring or gold ball. And I appreciate that stuff, and I want to win and experience that stuff, but it's not the end-all, be-all why I play the game.
I mean, not chasing the gold ball in these rings makes sense since he has 0 rings. Am I right, baby? Sound it. Fucking King Snake.
Petty alert. Petty alert. Petty alert.
Not chasing gold balls and rings. You could have fooled me. You could have fucking fooled me.
I need another sound effect here. I'm not your editor, but I know you are your own editor. But here's where you're going to play the, oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Like, come on, man. This motherfucker, man, I can't stand when he says shit like this. He's so baby shit soft that you can't, like, he can't help it. Like, he comes to Brooklyn. He finally gets everyone, like, somewhat back on his side after he went to Golden State and just really stacked his deck, really just to beat LeBron. Like, let's face it. No one was coming out of the East during those years. It was to beat LeBron. And, I mean, he got those things. And it's just like, you go to Brooklyn with LeBron's former teammate, who's also become just so insufferable. Like, we can have an entire episode for Kyrie.
We talked about him a bunch, yeah.
We can have a whole episode for Kyrie. And these two team up and you're like, all right, cool, this could be kind of interesting. And then you get fucking James Harden. And then the buyouts come and you get fucking Blake Griffin and he magically knows how to play basketball again. And then you get LaMarcus Aldridge and he magically knows how to play basketball again. Literally, fuck this team. And of course you don't care about rings because you're going to probably, if you guys stay healthy, they're going to cakewalk to a ring. There's very few teams that can beat that team 4 times in a 7-game series. So that fucking blows.
Amen. You utterly played yourself, and I would just like to make an announcement. We will no longer be calling them the Brooklyn Nets on this podcast. They will be referred to as the Brooklyn Villains because they are that. You outline all these other names they're getting, and meanwhile they're acting like, oh, what are we supposed to do? Maybe not just join this fucking juggernaut that's already there. Kevin Durant has 0 rings. He will continue to have 0 rings. If he allegedly wins it this year, it'll still be at 0 because this is just the Brooklyn Villains led by King Snake and Mr. Kyrie. I think I'm smarter than everyone. Irving. The dude is out of his mind. This team is turned in from, oh, this would be fun to see these two guys win in KD and Kyrie together and to see Kevin Durant finally get his first ring. No. And then we had to add James Harden. We had to add fucking Blake Griffin, who got his powers back from the Monstars, and LaMarcus Aldridge just magically appears. Who Greg Popovich never buys anybody out, but he did LaMarcus Aldridge. Like, fuck this team. Fuck the Brooklyn Villains. They will never be called by their name on this podcast. You heard it here first.
And the funny thing is, I think we're on, at least I'm pretty sure I'm on the record on Pre Brulee of saying it'll be fun to watch Kyrie and KD play together.
Yeah.
And this was literally a few months ago. And
they had to undo it.
They did it themselves, man. They did it to themselves. And it's just how do you become this unlikable? And I've seen people on Twitter just completely change their tune about the team because it's man, y'all sucking the fun out of this shit all over again. And it's not to mention LeBron's on a shortened off season. He already got hurt. And then KD was hurt and his team just kept chugging away. And I'm dude, this team is elite without Kevin Durant, who's arguably a top 3 player in this league. That's an embarrassment of riches. Fuck the Nets, man.
100%.
Fuck them.
It's unfortunate.
Fuck the Villains. Sorry.
Fuck the Villains. It's unfortunate because there's probably some Brooklyn Villains fans out there that really waited a long time for this, and their ring is not gonna count, and you hate to see it. Honestly, hate to see it.
Yeah. Poor Joe Harris, man.
Joe Harris, the big Joe Harris fans. Vish and I talked about the OG Nets. When they were the Nets, people used to root for Kerry Kittles and Keith Van Horn. We talked about that before, but sucks to suck. That's what happens when King Snake joins your team, apparently. I guess that's a trend.
Yep. The venom spreads, bro.
Last but not least, I've been wanting to get this off my chest for a long time, and there's no better time for this. This fucking Justin Fields slander is getting out of hand. This libel and slander. It's been written, it's been said, whatever you want to. All fucking forms. All of a sudden, this guy dropped from being arguably the second best quarterback in the draft to now Mac Jones being taken over him. So let me just hop on my soapbox. This is what you tuned in for, you number one podcast listeners. I'm not even going to dignify the names that do this, Dan Orlovsky. But the unchecked rumors they present are just fucking asinine. They're lazy. They reek of stereotypical racist draft analysis common to black quarterbacks. It's just fucking lazy. And it has undertones that fucking frankly just suck. And most of all, just flat out, they're untrue. Not only are they lazy, but they're just untrue. So you first started hearing all this shit because they started questioning Justin Fields' leadership, his character, how bad he wants it. Some things that are just not quantifiable. There's no way you'd be able to find that out from fucking anyone. No tape tells you that. But yet, they're lazy and they say it on air, right? They say it so people consume it. They consume it, and Mac Jones keeps rising the boards while Justin Fields falls, of course, once again, right? But they fail to realize just what's in front of them. Justin Fields is, if you gave credit to maybe one player on why the Big Ten played football this year, it would be Justin Fields. They were canceled. Justin Fields advocated. He was everywhere. He had no reason to advocate for it. He would have been A rich man, if he would have just entered the draft, not played, he would have had no beating on his body, none of that. But he vouched to play. His teammates rallied for him. All these lazy reports that are released, they don't bother asking his coaches. They don't bother asking his teammates. No, they just run with what they hear, right? Just to fucking ruin a dude's life, right? Ruin millions of dollars out of his pocket. Why? You don't talk about Mac Jones having 2 DUIs, do you? So then what is it? How do we not talk about race here when it's always the black quarterback? Lamar Jackson, Heisman Trophy winner. He's now an MVP. They wanted to move his ass to wide receiver. Are they asking fucking anyone that? Tim Tebow played quarterback in this fucking league. Give me a fucking break with that. And then they say, okay, well, let's take it to the tape, right? Let's take it to this magical tape that tells me so much. They question his progression and his ability to get to his second, third, and fourth reads. Justin Fields can't do that. He's a primary route, he throws it. That's it. So I found some simple things. Again, I told you, it's easy to find this shit out, right? Instead of believing these guys with these lazy reports, right? That get a camera in front of their face somehow, right? They question his progression. So this was from a statistician at ESPN. You've heard me include him on here before, Hembo from Get Up. So Hembo, he's at Paul Hembo. This is the percent of college attempts thrown at or behind the line of scrimmage. So he described them as like layup throws, so to speak. Mac Jones, 34% of his passes. Trevor Lawrence, 29%. Justin Fields, just 19%. Zach Wilson, 18%. So what the fuck are we talking about here? So we're going to talk about he can't get to multiple progressions, but all these other guys are shooting fucking layups, right? Okay. This is from Pro Football Focus. This is a grade on throws past the first read. So past this first read that everybody claims Justin Fields only throws to, right? So these are the ratings. This is a minimum of 60 attempts in 2019. Justin Fields rating, 98.6. Zach Wilson, 90.1. Trey Lance, 87.2. Oh, let's go down to 7th and 8th place, where Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones are at 78.6% and 75.7% respectively. So what the fuck is it? You're running out of things to say, and it's starting to feel mighty, mighty sus. These undertones are right there in front of you. You don't have any validity to what you're saying about Justin Fields. And meanwhile, all this shit you spew out in the public is consumed by people. And slowly, Justin Fields went from the second best quarterback to now maybe not even being the third quarterback taken. How does that happen? And don't tell me these guys don't fucking matter to scouts and to people making the decisions. They watch all this shit. They don't get to watch all the games, so they go to the news to try to figure it out. But the trouble is, the news is fucking lazy with their assessment of Justin Fields, and it's utter bullshit. I hate putting down another player, but Mac Jones has directly benefited from this, and I can't fucking figure it out. I cannot figure it out for the life of me. And I just wanted to say you played yourself because Justin Fields deserves better. That's all I got, man.
I mean... And, you know, just to kind of like add a little more, it's like people hate that these kind of things become racial issues, but it's like, how can it not? Like you said, Mac Jones has 2 fucking DUIs before even getting to the NFL, before even getting real money. You know, this is like this is family money. This dude has been able to get out of DUIs unscathed, play at a very high level, win national championship for a fucking premier football school.
100%.
Why? You tell me why. If Justin Fields was Mac Jones, there's no fucking way he would have started that game. There's no way he would have started that game for the Alabama 100%. Crimson Tide. I can goddamn guarantee it. They wouldn't even let Jalen Hurts finish a fucking game, and he was playing subpar. It's fucking bullshit, man. It's you can keep running around in circles and acting like it's other things. It's like work ethic and this and that, but it really comes down to race. Lamar Jackson is the best example, and that was like not even 5 years ago. Nope. Like they really wanted him to fucking play wide receiver in the NFL, and this dude won an MVP on his rookie contract. Like 100%. Seriously, get fucked. Like everyone needs to get fucked. I can't stand this shit. And also, I've tweeted this, but Dan Orlovsky is not allowed to say anything about quarterbacks. This motherfucker ran out of the end zone and sacked himself for a safety in the middle of a fucking game. Literally, fuck him to hell, bro. He sucks. He always sucked.
This is the same dude that's like in love with Carson Wentz, right? And he has
Dan Orlovsky.
He had the audacity to have a lazy report on Pat McAfee show, and he had to walk it back. And good for him for having to walk it back, but the damage is already fucking done when you release lazy-ass messages like that. And I just fucking hate it. It always seems to be the black quarterbacks where you question their ability to go through progressions, read defenses, whether they want it or not, all that shit. But we're not asking those same questions across the board. So you want it to not be race, but then stop fucking making it that, okay? Have the same assessments that you do. Keep it on the field or don't, but do it across the board. Don't fucking play us like that. You played yourself to all the Justin Fields slander, libel, all of it. It's bullshit. I hope he ends up in a great situation and fucking makes everybody eat their words.
Also, go Bucks.
Also, go Bucks. Amen. And shout out Georgia for not holding on to him. You played yourself. Okay.
Petty alert. Petty
All right,
alert.
it's time for who you
Petty
got
alert.
and what you feeling. So, the last episode where I made any sort of picks, I was on here with Vish, and we were talking about our favorite moves of the NFL offseason so far. I talked about the Chargers spending on their offensive line. They signed Corey Linsley, all-pro center, first team. They prioritized protecting Justin Herbert. Also loved the Vikings getting Dalvin Tomlinson, defensive tackle, on a team-friendly deal. Vish talked about Andy Dalton to the Bears because he loves seeing other fan bases besides himself bask in misery. So I love that petty energy. I'm going to sound it again for my big bro, you know?
Petty alert. Petty alert.
And then Vish
Petty
and I
alert.
picked we did a little March Madness picking. I never got to get back on here, but we did our Elite Eight into the Final Four. I picked Gonzaga over Iowa. Iowa ended up losing early. Texas over Michigan. Texas lost really early. Baylor over Ohio State. Ohio State, goddammit. And Illinois over West Virginia, which didn't pan out either. So, obviously got Gonzaga and Baylor, but who didn't? Vish also liked the Zags over Iowa. He went with Michigan over Texas, but I guess Michigan was a little closer. They got upset by UCLA. And he went with the homer pick, the Ohio State Buckeyes over Baylor. That didn't pan out. I will give him a pass on that because that was a homer pick and we were feeling it then. And the last one, he got this one. He got the Cougs, but he had him over Illinois, and Illinois ended up losing early. But shout out the Cougs, go Cougs,
Go Cougs.
So between us, I think we got three. Yeah, we got three Final Four teams, but I guess that's both of us chiming in. So I guess that's not too bad. All right, this week I wanted to talk NFL offseason and trades with you, Rosh. I wasn't going to stick you with any March Madness picks, that's for sure. Okay, so the number 3 overall pick. We first I want to go over the trade that wound up giving the number 3 overall pick to the San Francisco 49ers because previously, I mean, I know it's sore subject, that originally belonged to the Texans and then it was the Dolphins. So just a quick recap, all right? So San Francisco traded up to number 3. They traded the number 12 overall pick in this year's draft, a first-round pick in 2022 and 2023, and then also traded a third-round comp pick in 2022. So 3 1s and a 3 is what they traded up to number 3 with the Dolphins. So then that means the Dolphins are at 12. Well, the Dolphins pulled a video game level behavior and traded again. So they then traded their number 12 pick to go back up to number 6 with the Eagles. So they traded their number 12 overall pick, a 4th round pick in this year's draft, and a 1st round pick in next year's draft to the Eagles, so that they can move up 6 spots. So the Eagles are now picking at 12, the Dolphins are at 6, and the Niners are at 3. So, all that being said, now that the Niners are at 3, Rush, who should they take?
Well, I mean, this seems pretty obvious from our last conversation, but I'm glad that the rumblings are behind the Jets not taking Justin Fields, because I'm still waiting for, that Buckeye QB to truly dominate in the league. And I think Justin Fields is the guy for San Francisco. His fucking game is tailor-made for Kyle Shanahan. Dude, what he's capable of feels like a match made in heaven on paper, at least, And, 49ers, they're, super stacked. They're stacked on both sides of the roster. Defense has stars. Offense has stars. They're coached really well, and it almost feels like Justin Fields would be a plug-and-play. The dude knows how to get to playbooks. The dude knows how to play big games and big moments. And, it'd be fucking stupid if they took Trey Lance or Zach Wilson.
I know they're going to end up with Mac Jones there.
Or Mac Jones, yeah. It's just it's insane. It'd be criminal, because the amount of upside that Justin Fields has and the competition that he played up to in college. It seems like a no-brainer, but teams are pretty stupid. So
yeah, they're fucking smarter than us, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be a little sneaky here. Who should the Niners draft at number 3 overall? Zach Wilson. Because if I'm going off of my fucking rankings, Justin Fields is the second best quarterback. Now,
Facts.
I know we're being fucking, the question was should. So if I'm being realistic, I agree with you. It should be Fields at 3. Do I think it will be? Unfortunately not, because of everything I just fucking ranted about. And all signs are pointing towards them taking Mac Jones, which if they do, they will find themselves on You Played Yourself, because to trade up to number 3 to get Mac Jones is legitimately crazy to me. It's crazy to me. So I'm going to say Zach Wilson technically, but that's assuming my rankings, because Justin Fields should be the second best.
100%.
So I went over that trade with you regarding the 3 teams switching draft spots, but I wanted to go over another trade, and then I wanted to talk about who we thought won each trade, okay?
Let's do it.
The other trade that happened, obviously, was the Carolina Panthers traded for Sam Darnold. So the Panthers are they were kind of in no man's land. After the Niners trade up to 3, Panthers kind of saw the writing on the wall that they weren't going to get a quarterback. I don't know if they were trying to trade up or not, but they then traded with the Jets to get Sam Darnold. So the Panthers gave up a 6th-round pick in this year's draft and 2nd and 4th round picks in next year's draft in exchange for Sam Darnold. Obviously, that squarely puts Zach Wilson likely on the Jets at number 2, without a doubt, because before they were questioning whether the Jets would hang on to Darnold. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. So, given that trade and the one before, let's start with the one that wound up with jumbling the draft order. So all the swapping of draft picks between the 3 teams. Who won that trade between the Niners, Dolphins, or Eagles?
I think the Niners only win that trade if they take Fields, assuming, if they don't take Fields, they definitely lost that trade. Otherwise, I think in most cases, the Dolphins win that trade just because of the amount of weaponry how many games did they win last year? Was it 10? They either won 9 or 10 games last year, and they definitely were overachieving, don't get me wrong, but if they won 9 or 10 games last year and they end up with all these first rounders in the next few years, dude, they're going to be pretty loaded. And if Tua pans out, or even if they pick someone else, or if they fucking end up trading for Deshaun, I don't know. That's a whole other story. It's just I think they're set up for a nice future either way. And if San Francisco takes Justin Fields, they'll be pretty set for the near future. So I don't think the Eagles matter.
First of all, you're not going to speed past that.
I think they're a shit show, so who fucking cares?
Amen to that. All right, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I love the trading they did. It felt like one of us playing a video game, like I talked about.
Dude,
the fact that they got extra capital and gave up relatively nothing to get back up to number 6. The Dolphins, theoretically, they're probably looking at wide receiver or offensive line. They move down slots and still gain capital and are still going to get the guy they want. And I think that's an utter win, because if you can gain capital and still get your guy, they're still in line to get Jamar Chase or any other receiver they want to get. So I love that move out of them. Like you said, the Eagles, I think the jury's out on that. They could end up winning this because the pick they picked up, the extra one, is for next year. And, I mean, yes, it might be a later pick, but who knows what they do with that. And they might still get a wide receiver at 12, and they probably need more pieces anyway. So, yeah, I do agree with you, though. San Francisco's got to take the dynamic quarterback with a higher ceiling, and that's Justin Fields if they want to win this trade. I don't think you take a guy like Mac Jones, but who knows? Evidently, they think they're smarter than us. So, okay. Now, what about this Panthers-Jets trade, the Darnold trade? Who won that one between the Panthers and Jets?
I'm going to go with actually nobody wins because Darnold sucks ass. This dude, on a live mic mid-game said he was seeing ghosts and he threw like 4 picks. I mean, I don't want this guy on my team, and if Zach Wilson gets drafted to the Jets suck ass too. But if I have to pick a winner, I'm going to go with the Panthers just because, they're pretty set. They have a pretty good team. Darnold getting some actual coaching, getting some offensive work from Joe Brady, who was, supposed to be on people's like head coaching lists. That'll be his first like legit coach that he's basically had. And I mean, Matt Rule's pretty solid too. He's getting a pretty good quarterback to work with, considering that offense was kicking last year with without McCaffrey, who was gone for pretty much like 14 of the games, and Teddy Bridgewater, who can only throw about 10 yards total.
Teddy two gloves.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Darnold has like a pretty decent bounce back season, and then they end up signing him for a long term contract. None of that would surprise me. So I'm gonna go. If I have to pick a winner, it's definitely the Panthers.
Yeah, mine's not even that close. I love this move for the Panthers. I was initially like skeptical of it, but all the things you pointed out, like the better coaching, the better weapons, like he's got DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, which he did pretty well with Robbie Anderson in New York. I mean,
that's true.
Chances are, if you played fantasy football, you knew that because Robbie Anderson always seemed to be that guy. Like you have a bunch of bye week players and you put him in, and he could go off for like 3 touchdowns.
For sure.
He's by far going to have the most talent around him. He could have no one on his team but Christian McCaffrey, and I'd feel that way. So, and the coaching, this is going to be a legit chance. And I love this for the Panthers because the biggest thing they gave up is a second-round pick next year. And that's not truly a huge investment to give up to try out a quarterback. They're not locked into him contract-wise. They can give it a try, see if he pans out. And they weren't going to get their guy in this year's draft. After San Francisco trade up to 3, then you're settling for, at best, the 4th best quarterback, and that's likely not your desired guy. So I think you roll with someone who has some NFL experience, and there's very little risk to it. So I really like this move from the Panthers standpoint after I thought about it some more. And this would be a good, prove it, If he can't do it in Carolina, at least this would be a legitimate chance. He hasn't had one yet in New York, so I guess we'll see. Now, let's move on to what you feeling. I'm going to go first before I hand it over to you, Roche. I'm feeling getting to celebrate my wife's 30th birthday the way she deserved. It was awesome. We got to safely see some friends after a while, safely vaccinated, all that stuff. So loved getting to celebrate her milestone birthday, 30. So shout out to her. You number one podcast listeners familiar with her from those quarantine episodes. So then we'll be sure to bring her back at some point. And also, I got to shout out DMX, rest in power, the great DMX, for all the great music memories. A quick story, Roche, you know this, but you number one podcast listeners. So DMX is the first ever artist I got caught listening to a parental advisory CD with. I still remember it to this day. We were on our way flying to Houston, actually, to visit you guys. And my dad grabbed my CD player at the time, that yellow Walkman that was like fresh to death. And I was listening to DMX's album, And Then There Was X. And my dad picked up my headphones and found me listening to a song called What These Bees Want. And so I don't think there's a better. That's all she wrote. I mean, that's kind of an embarrassing song to get caught listening to right now, let alone me being that young. So, shout out to DMX. Rest in power. Thank you for all the great music. And I'll turn it over to you, man.
Yeah, man, that DMX is a legend, man.
It's hard,
His first 5 albums, they all went platinum. I mean, you got to give it up to him. He was dominating, and one of my friends that I follow on Twitter, I can't even remember who it was. He tweeted something that I remember. He was like, DMX never compromised who he was. Even his biggest single, "Party Up," was like the hardest fucking song to ever exist.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to the lyrics, like he's not playing around at all in any of those songs. And like he never compromised, and you got to give it up for that. I mean, that's so awesome. As for what I'm feeling, I'm definitely feeling baseball season starting back up. Looks like the Astros should be pretty fun to watch. Go Stros, baby. They should be pretty fun to watch this year, even without Springer. I miss you, man.
Miss you, buddy.
I'm feeling being vaccinated. That's for sure.
Let's go.
Let's try to catch a game or 2 or 9 this summer.
You on that 5G, baby?
Yeah, dude.
He on that high definition. Let's go.
You already know.
We're just kidding.
Trying to be at the juice box. I'm trying to be at the juice box, Minute Maid Park, see some dongers get hit. Other than that, I love the summer heat in Houston. That's not a very popular opinion down here, but I'm ready for pool season. I'm ready for 7% Travis Scott cacti seltzers. And
have you had it
White
yet?
Claw. Yeah, man, it's good.
Is it good? I got to find it.
Yeah, dude. 7%ers, dude. They don't play around.
Wow. We don't play, man.
Apparently a White Claw has like an 8%er now. As of like today, I just saw the tweet. So, I just really want to look forward to enjoying the summer that we kind of lost last year. And, also I got a new apartment, and my new apartment has a balcony with the view of a pool. So that's like double downing on the pool. So let's get it, baby.
I'm pumped to see it. I got to come visit.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now let's hit that too much sense. Okay. So my advice for this week is, I was thinking, don't let your satisfaction or happiness be determined by others' opinions or presence. So I kind of had this revelation, like, don't let the success of like an event or an accolade be determined on other people congratulating you or other people showing up for that event. If you did your thing, like you did your thing, you don't need anything else besides self-validation. And that's my too much sense for this week. Don't be looking externally, look internally. If you're proud of yourself, God damn it, be proud of yourself.
Yes, sir. Celebrate the wins. You got to.
Amen. And if you're not getting enough love celebrating your dubs, hit me up, man. I know I'm negative about sports, but I'm a positive dude. So I love celebrating people's victories, man. It's a beautiful thing seeing people win.
For sure.
All right, my brother. That wraps up another edition of the #1 podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I want to thank you, my big bro, Roj.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Love having you on here.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure. Love being on here. Yeah, man.
You #1 podcast listener, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, review, tell a friend to tell a friend. We're up in our game. It's not just sports anymore. We got a few episodes on there for everybody, and we're going to try to keep doing that. I know, Rosh, you might be in on one of those too, so
of course.
Stay tuned alert for that, you #1 podcast listeners.
Always.
But thank you, man. Thanks for joining me, and we will talk to you next time.
Yes, sir. Peace.